Good afternoon or good morning to all. It depends of your area where you are connected. We would like to welcome you to a new edition of Smart Talks by MESPAC. I am Monica Cuatracasas, the Communication Manager at MESPAC. Nice to greet you. It is a pleasure for us to be here with you today in this session entitled Think Green, Crafting Sustainable Packaging, where we will learn how to adapt your machines to recyclable materials. This webinar will last approximately 45 minutes and it will be presented by our experts, Oscar Ortega, the Services Director, and Verónica Tejada, Business Developer. At the end of the session, you will have around 10 minutes for questions and answers. So do not hesitate to write the questions and arise during the session through the questions and answers section below. The session will be recorded and sent to those registered later. Well, I would like to introduce you Oscar Ortega, the Services Director. Oscar joined MESPAC over 12 years ago. He began in the after-sales service department and has thrived in diverse positions within the company. He has regularly worked extremely close with customers, which has resulted in amazing relationships, understanding their needs and accompanying them throughout the process of their experience with our machinery. Good morning, Oscar.
Good morning, Monica. Good morning,
How are you
everybody.
today?
All good, thank you.
Are you fine today?
Yes, super fine.
Okay, ready for the webinar. And now I would like to introduce also Verónica Tejada, the business developer. After 4 impactful years as a customer owner, Verónica moved into the role of business developer. Verónica's career at MESPAC has been characterized by throughout knowledge of our customer needs. Subsequently, this has allowed her to cultivate relationships through direct interactions and passionately dedicated service. Good morning, Veronica.
Good morning, Monica. Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you very much.
Well, thanks for your contribution to this session and for being here, Oscar and Veronica. I think I do not have anything else to add, so we will proceed in the presentation. Okay, so today we are going to cover different topics about retrofits in terms of sustainability production. But first, let me introduce you a MESPAC overview. MESPAC has its headquarters in Barcelona and is an international manufacturer of flexible packaging, end-of-line and water-soluble pot equipment for consumer packaged goods companies, serving the world's leading brands. We are recognized as a highly innovative company, strongly committed to developing machinery to create sustainable packaging solutions. MESPAC has been part of Duraban since 2015. Duraban is the leading player in the world of industrial equipment. Headquartered in Downers Grove, Illinois, Duraban is a global engineered equipment company with manufacturing, sales, and service facilities throughout North America, Europe, and Asia. Given its portfolio of operating companies worldwide, sales, distribution, and service networks, Duraban provides immediately and lifetime aftermarket support to all sectors that you can see here and serves the food processing, packaging, and material handling industries with various operating companies and brands. We are here at MESPAC, so as mentioned you before, MESPAC was established in 1997 as an horizontal form, film, and seal manufacturer. And after 30 years, this year we are celebrating our 30th anniversary, has become a strong and reliable one-stop shop player with premium services worldwide. We have sales network teams in over 90 countries and regional service centers that provide immediate and expedited access to parts, as well as time minimizing solutions. With the largest product portfolio in the industry, our team comprises 380 employees within more than 17,700 square meters of manufacturing and commercial offices you can see here on the map. Our production centers are located in Santa Perpetua de Mogoda, Spain, Wooddale, Illinois in the States, and Vadodara, India. MESPAC, we offer solutions to different kind of industries that we classify as food, beverage, pet food, pharmaceuticals, personal care, and home care especially. But additionally, we work for other industries, including lawn and garden, agriculture, tobacco, and automotive, among others. At MESPAC, we have the most talented and experienced engineering team. We are very proud of them to design and provide customer integrated solutions for primary and secondary packaging to end of line. Furthermore, as a result of our knowledge and years of experience, we offer the best machines to suit each project's requirements and deadlines for the customers. Here in this slide, you can see our extensive portfolio covering primary packaging with our horizontal form film and seal machines for all kinds of flexible packagings with high precision, efficiency, and versatility. In this horizontal series, we also offer machinery for pre-made pouches, especially for co-packers. Moreover, we have a wide range of vertical form film and seal equipment that produce stick packs, also with spouts if needed, and flat pouches. We also extend beyond primary packaging with our end-of-line equipment, offering a range of suitable technologies to fit your secondary packaging if your manufacturing line in your manufacturing line with the targeting solutions if you need it. So this marks the beginning of our introduction to MESPAC, providing you with the opportunity to familiarize yourself with who we are. But now, Oscar, I'll pass you floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Monica. So let me make sure I have control over this. Yes, I do. Okay, so good morning, everybody again. I still remember when it was 2019 that we first heard that the industry would require that all laminates that produce that pouches are produced with our machines, they will need to be from a recyclable material at some point. So at that time, I can say that we are proud that we embrace that as an opportunity, not as a challenge or as a risk, to to help our customers to transition into that requirements. We knew we could not do it alone, so we needed the help of customers, but also of laminate manufacturers, pad manufacturers, all the stakeholders that participate in this industry, to join forces and understand what needed to be done in our machines in order to make sure that they could smoothly transition to that. And we took the approach that we wanted solutions to be applied not only for new machinery, but also to the machinery that we have in the installed base nowadays. So the customers that they have a machine, they could adapt it. So all the kits that we will walk you now, it's kits that we can adapt to existing machines, but also to new equipment. We have separated them into what we call basic, because it's kits that we would recommend straight away if you want to modify your machine, but also if you want to get a new machine. And there are some additional features that we do not consider mandatory, but in some cases they can be based on some learnings that we have. But in any case, they could be added value for your machinery. Okay. To begin with, Veronica will help us to walk through the first slides, and I will take over later on to finalize. So Veronica, please.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. Let's start with our intelligent packaging solutions. First of all the sealing bars have to be made of Elmedur material. Standard sealing bars, not Elmedur, have a variation of ±10 degrees across the sealing bar, and Elmedur sealers have a variation of ±3 degrees. Recyclable film does not allow big variation across the sealing bars. So for this reason, we recommend Elmedur sealers in order to get the properly sealed. Double bottom sealing station. With this kind of film, we have to add a second bottom sealing station to do the sealing in 2 steps with less temperature. Configuration will be: first station, Elmedur silicon, and second station, silicon Elmedur. With this configuration, we ensure a correct seal in the triple point. There are three different approaches. Option 1. Machine with enough space between bottom and vertical sealing. In this case, we will add a second station with same configuration that I mentioned before. Option 2. Machine with no space between bottom and vertical sealing. We will have to add independent module between unwinder and machine frame. Here we have to take in consideration that machine footprint will increase about 1 meter. Option 3 is machine with zipper. In this case, we will adapt the zipper station. We will add bottom sealers in the zipper pointer station, and all the sealers have to be made of Elmedur. Bottom perforator with large stroke. New materials are more flexible. So with standard bottom perforators, we cannot get the perforation of the film. Solution is to add large stroke bottom perforators to ensure the perforation and the scrap removal. Air cooling on sealing station. When machine stops, there is heat accumulation in the bottom sealers, and the film may stick to the sealing bar surface. So you will have to clean the sealers, and this means an additional downtime. Solution is cooling the bottom sealers using air turbine. Pneumatic brake. As I mentioned before, when machine stops, there is a heat accumulation. The film deforms, so losing photocell and eye mark. Solution is combination of pneumatic brakes plus additional pulling rollers in order to compensate laminate shrinkage. Film follower. If we speak about machines higher than H420, the distance from the main pulling to the pouch does not allow straight position of the film. It means that the film could be down. Solution is to add a film follower before the cutting station, so we get correct position of the film, ensuring that film is correctly prepared for cutting, opening, and filling. Okay, now Oscar will continue with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica. So we enter into a very interesting slide, which is the spout sealing, and it's probably one of the most challenging operations with the new laminates. So if you remember, one of the characteristics of the laminates is that they do not accept as much temperature as standard laminates could do, and uh, and that means that the standard operation for sealing spouts, which is basically apply the heat through the outer layer of a laminate, it needs to penetrate throughout the laminate and seal the base of the spout. If we do that same operation with the new materials, they would burn the outer layer if we want to seal. So since we cannot play with the outer temperature, what we can do is play with the inner temperature. And to do that, we have developed a system for preheating the base of the spouts. Preheating basically is blowing air at very high temperature and in a very reduced amount of time. And with that operation, we arrive to melt the ribs of the base of the spout. So when they go inside the spout and we apply the sealing operation, the amount of temperature is enough to seal, but not to burn the outer layer. This has a requirement, which is shown here, that basically the insertion of the spout into the pouch needs to be rotary, and basically it means that it's servo driven. This is something that new machines are already built like that, but it has not always been the case. Some of our machines from from the early stages, they do not have this rotary system, and unfortunately, the solution that we designed for the preheating requires that. Meaning, If you have a machine that they do have a rotary application, that is good news because they could easily be adapted to the preheating. If you do not have the rotary, we would need to add this to as a requirement to transform the insertion of the spout to be rotary and the preheating operation itself. Still with the spout seal, what we also learned is, especially for a corner spout, that the standard operation, which was one station where we seal, meaning a seal, we mean that we apply temperature, but we also apply pressure. There was a second station which was also for pointing, and pointing it's basically just to press, but not apply the amount of pressure or temperature that we do in the sealing station. So what we learned is that we need to duplicate this, and it's in line with what we mentioned on the bottom seal, that we need to duplicate the process in order to make sure that we can distribute the temperature in two stages and accommodate also the pressure in the two stations. So this is an adaptation that we can also do for existing machines. If we talk about zipper sealing, we mentioned it slightly earlier in the first slides that they also need to be in Elmedor, what we call the zipper sealers. But the zipper sealer also requires some crushers, which you can see here in the pictures. So two particularities that we need to provide for those crushers. Number one, they need to be in the Elmedor material. If you remember, the material that secures that there is a stable variation of maximum plus minus 3 degrees Celsius across the whole sealing jaw. And we also modify the profile. You may see it in the zoomed image in order to prevent that we puncture the laminate when we press. This is something that we observed in some testing, so we provide this profile to prevent that. If you remember, we mentioned that there were some basic preparations. So all kits that we have mentioned before stand for the basic. What I will introduce now is what we call the additional features. Those are ones that we will not recommend from the very beginning, but as you can see, there are some particularities that may require them, and it's good for you if you have machines or if you plan to acquire machines that you know that Mespac has these solutions because they add value to the process of the laminates itself. So one solution is on the cutting knives. The standard, let's say, way of cutting it's of any Mespac machine is it's a link to a mechanical camshaft, and it's basically the machine speed which will dictate what is the cutting velocity that these knives will do. What we have observed is what when we want to cut large pouches and with zipper, that we require a minimum velocity that needs to be met. And if we're running at low speeds, such as 30, 35 cycles per minute, we cannot secure that. What we have observed, and it's becoming worse when we go with recyclable laminates. So what we did was to develop a system which is completely independent of the camshaft, which is basically making the cutting to be servo-driven. We can adjust the cutting velocity that we want, regardless of the cutting velocity, and therefore that assures that the cutting can be done effectively. Again, this is something that it's interesting to know, but it's needed when the pouches are large and they include zipper and they run at low speeds, like 30, 35 cycles per minute or even lower. If we're not within those conditions, that is a system that it's interesting, but would not become mandatory. The pulling station. So as a general design standpoint, the machines, they are always provided with two pulling stations. If you can see in the right pictures, so the main pulling rollers, they would be just before the cutting knives. And there is a second station for pulling, which is in the unwinding unit. So there are two inputs here. Number one, the original design of the machines in the early stages did not always include this number two, the pulling in the unwinding unit. The pulling was mainly done in the main pulling rollers from the before the cutting station. And if you remember, one of the characteristics of the new laminates, the recyclable laminates, is that tend to they tend to stretch when we pull them. This pulling distance may be an issue if we don't have the second pulling station in the first in the in the first years that when we delivered machines like that. If you have already two pulling stations in your machines, that is good news, so it should not be an issue. But if you only have one, it may be very likely that we would need to introduce a second pulling station there. Furthermore, in the large machines stand for models which are H100, 420, 570 or higher. Their length is considerably larger than any other machine, and we started already some years ago to introduce a third pulling unit, which is just after the unwinding and before the forming module. You can see it in the pictures as the number 3. Um, so if you have a machine which is 420 onwards, and you plan to run recyclables, it is very likely that you will need this third pulling station as well. Talking about static electricity, we know that standard laminates, some of them, they tend to be more sensitive to get static electricity. What we see that in the recyclable laminates, this is a characteristic that it's even more even more higher than in the others. So the ionizer device, what it does, it's remove that static electricity, and since we place it just before the cutting knives, what we want to secure is that once the pouches they go into the opening station, they do not tend to close later on with this static electricity. Okay, so this is an element that we can just install there. And this can be combined with the next kit, which is these suction cups that we placed in the walking beam. That is basically mimicking the concept for pouch opening, which is a suction knives where we apply vacuum. So we apply this same concept into the walking beam, and once the pouch has been opened, we come with the walking beam. It grabs the suction cups, it grabs the pouch, and applies vacuum to keep it open as it transitions to the next station, to the filling station. Doing that, we ensure that when it arrives to this filling station, we stop the vacuum, and we ensure that if it's a funnel or if it's a nozzle, that it comes in, so it is not closed, and therefore we do not create spillage all over the machine frame. Self-correction cameras are also getting more and more important. Because it basically helps with the tolerance that we have with the eye mark. So you know that the laminate is synchronized with the machine with the eye marks with a photocell, but this needs to have a tolerance, which as a standard for MESPAC, it's plus minus 0.5 millimeter within 1 meter. Look, if this tolerance is up to plus minus 1 millimeter in 1 meter, the machines are still able to process that without any change. However, if that cannot be sustained and this tolerance grows to up to plus minus 2 millimeter, if we don't do anything, the machine will suffer the accumulation of this error, and there will be a point that we will lose synchronism. We will need to stop the machine. We will need to readjust everything and start. And if the tolerance is still there, if it's plus minus 2 or lower, we will have this over and over, and that creates basically unplanned stoppages that we don't want them. So the system we developed, it's a combination of number 1, cameras, and number 2, servo motors to reposition the sealing jaws. The cameras, they basically take a pattern every cycle on the photocell, and they compare it with boundaries that we define. If every time we do the picture, we compare it with the pattern, and it's within the boundaries, that is an okay. We don't do any correction whatsoever, so everything continues as normal. If when we do the picture, we see that that it goes beyond the boundaries of this pattern that we have defined, then it's when we trigger this correction of the jaws that it's doing inline. So the machine needs running, so they just reposition these amount of millimeters that they need, so that the next cycles we do not lose this synchronism, and the aesthetics of the pouch is always perfect. Okay, paper, it's also becoming a trend in the last months. So it's not only laminate like mono material or polyolefins. Paper is also a part of the solutions that we are exploring. And a part of all other kits that we have mentioned before, one of the important adaptations that we need to do is on the forming of the gasset for doypack pouches. That if we use the standard solution, which is a triangle, the edge of that triangle may or actually scratches the surface of the paper, because it's much more sensitive than laminate. So what we do is to take a similar concept, if you want, like we actually call it internally like the pizza wheel, because it's basically, if you look at the picture, it's like a wheel that rotates, same as when we cut the pizza. And basically what it does is that the same function to form the gasset of the pouches, but this wheel accompanies the laminate. It's not a fixed point, and therefore doesn't make the scratch on the paper. Very good. So all these were the kits that we have available. Again, they can be retrofitted into existing machine. They can be equipped in new machinery. Let me just wrap up with what we call the key value drivers. I mean, why should you pursue this, and and what's MESPAC, and what's MESPAC position into this. So number one, the environmental sustainability. That is basically, we want to contribute on lessen the carbon footprint, and we want to help you or customers to to help with the CSR, the corporate social responsibility values, introducing recyclable laminates. Flexibility, it comes basically helping transitioning from rigid materials to flexible materials, and moreover, if they can be recyclable. Brand reputation, that comes when the value that we can draw in with customers, that that in a society which is more and more concerned on eco-friendly packaging, and the value that we bring to the to our brands if we use these recyclable materials. Cost saving. Let's not forget that that the cost of manufacturing flexible packaging, it's much reduced compared to rigid, and the warehousing footprint can be reduced up to 70%. The market demand, it's more or less related with the brand reputation, so it increases the value of our brand, but also it's the customers that they are more sensitive to to eco requirements, that they will push us to to provide solutions in that line. Regulation compliance, so basically we help with those solutions to comply with any environmental rules that are coming up, and subsequently the taxes that they may apply, in order to make sure that the manufacturers comply with that regulations. So what does MESPAC do in those regards, and that they are unique? So number one, it's important to highlight that whenever we do this transition in our machines, regardless if they are new machines or we retrofit existing machines, they could work with both the standard laminates, if you will, PET materials that we use nowadays, but also with the recyclable materials. So we do not need to sacrifice one to another. Number two, we can adapt our machinery to run with recyclable materials and to paper as well. Number three, we in MESPAC have trained and dedicated project managers to follow up any of those projects of retrofit because they have the experience on what needs to be done before, what needs to be done during, and they can support you on how to transition, how to install the elements, how to do the trials, how to plan all this and impact as less as possible your current production needs. Number four, very important, we as MESPAC did an investment in a pilot machine that we have in our MESPAC Innovation Center, the MIC. This machine is equipped with all kits that we have presented before, and it's intended for you that you can come here and test our laminates or the spouts or zippers that you want to test. We have a senior engineer that it's commanding this test. It's always the same engineer who does the test. We have a structured protocol and a report that we handed over to you, and we basically help you to understand which of the laminates they can be processed in the machines, what are the key parameters, and what are the kits that we have seen that they are needed for this production. And last but not least, and that's basically repeating what we mentioned before, either if it's new machinery or retrofitted, we can work always with sustainable or traditional laminates, and this is named to the flexibility approach that we need as you. Okay, Monica, back to you.
Okay. Thank you both for your participation. It has been very interesting topic to learn more about how to adapt your machines to recyclable materials. And during this session, I have seen that we have a very active audience. We have some questions. So let's proceed now with the round of questions and answers. And please, if you have questions, you can write and we will answer you online now. So first question. What is the maturity level of these kits?
I can take that one. So the interesting part, and it's a very good question, thank you. The interesting part is that most of them, they were not solutions that we have, let's say, developed from, to give a solution to these new laminates. So most of them are kits that we did in the past for certain, let's say, for certain customers that they had a challenge with a laminate. So for example, the Elmedur, it's not new, it's something that we did before. The film pulling, it's not something new, we did it before. So it's basically solutions that we had before, and they have been active for years, and we see that the recyclable materials, they behave like most of them. So most of them we feel very comfortable because they have been for years in the market, while some of them they are new. For example, the spout preheating, it's something that we didn't have before, so it's something that we have developed. But most of them, it's kits that they have been with MESPAC for years and with a maturity level which is high.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. And we have another question because another attendees asked, do we need all these kits in a machine if planning to produce with monomaterial?
Well, that's another good question. Not necessarily, but the beauty of this is that there is no, let's say, mathematical rule to say you need this, you need that. So we recommend what we call the basics, but that's why we recommend that any material is tested in our facilities, in our pilot machine, because then we will know for sure which are the kits that we need for sure.
Thank you. There are more questions to attend. And how long do we need to stop our machine to install these kits?
So Well, you know that we have several machine models. I would say in a general rule, the installation would take 2 weeks plus the testing. So what we normally do is we offer customers the opportunity, if they are, let's say, if they are in a rush that they need to go back to production as soon as possible. What we recommend is let's install those kits, and since they can run with standard laminates, bring you back to production after those 2 weeks, and then we can plan the trials whenever you can plan to do that. Other than that, otherwise, if they have the time, we can do a third week of trials. In the very worst case, I mean, whenever there is a machine which needs to, they need to be fully retrofitted, we normally try to limit to a maximum of 3 weeks installation times. We know we cannot require much more time when a machine is in production, and we try to compensate the time with adding more resources.
Okay. Another attendee asked, can you explain a bit more how the pizza wheel works?
Yeah. So basically, the pizza wheel replaces the function of the forming triangle. If you picture the forming triangle, it's basically a triangle which is fixed, and the gusset of the pouches comes through, but it's a fixed point, right? So whenever the pouches they come, the the triangle will scratch. Will basically, it's fixed and it's an edge, so it will scratch the laminate. So if we replace that with a wheel, the paper will not scratch against it because this element, it rotates and just accompanies the laminate through.
Okay. We have a vertical form, film, and seal machine that is MS 1004. And I do not see any kit intended for that equipment. And so the vertical machine does not need any update to run new materials.
They do. I mean, this webinar was more intended for horizontal machinery, but yes, vertical they do. Uh, Number one would be Elmedur, and then it's a combination also for cooling the seals. So, I mean, we will need to elaborate a bit more on that. So I don't think I can make the whole explanation now. So I'm happy if we can just get in touch later with email, and we'll provide all the details so you can have a look.
Perfect. So another question. Are all new machines capable of sealing both laminated and sustainable packaging?
Yes, I mean, we one of the kits is that this machine can be prepared for recyclable laminates. So if this option is purchased, yes.
Do you have a material specification in order to run with the kit?
No, that's something that we have tried to find, let's say, a specification that really tells us, okay, this will run, this will not. But at the moment, what we are seeing is that every composition behaves different. Even the same compositions, if it's from different suppliers, or it's the same supplier but different batches, behave different. So unfortunately, not.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you seal monopolymers using ultrasonic sealing or RF welding? This would reduce the heat required.
It can also be done. I mean, when we introduced here the solutions, it's basically what's the standard solutions on which is heat seal. But we also partnered with our ultrasonic with our ultrasonic companies to test, and we can also adapt the machines with ultrasonic seal to do that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do you test ultrasonic sealing or other system like Watron technology?
Yes. So ultrasonic, yes, we just answered, and Batron, it's also a partner of us, and it can also be tested in our pilot machines.
Okay, thank you. We have more questions, a lot of questions today.
Yeah.
In case of a liquid product, what is the maximum size or volume that can be produced in a horizontal form film and seal machine using monomaterial, for example, 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter, etc.?
So normally, I would say any of those combinations are feasible. So when it comes to 3 liters, 3 liters is something we have done even with monomaterial. With monomaterial, I'm not sure. Now I'm talking about memory, but we have done pouches with 3 liters. These, I mean, the main difficulty is could be drop test, but it's a combination of properties, not only for sealing, but then it's the resistance when we want to test them on drop test, for example. So right now the limitation, it's not how we do the pouches, it's if they are capable later to resist those kind of tests.
Okay. So another question. We do hot filling. How is performing new materials?
Same. I mean, we just need to find the right material with that application. But it's the same concept as we would do with standard laminates. So we just need to find the best material for the which is recyclable and for the hot filling.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. How is the energy consumption when using sustainable laminate?
So generally speaking, the major impact is when we do, for example, spout preheating, because we need to add these extra, let's say, sealers or this extra blowing that basically requires more power, and the fact that we need a double bottom sealing that also takes more power.
Okay. And another question, filling a 2 liter liquid package, what would your maximum output per minute using a monopolymer?
Well, that's a good question, but it basically depends on the it basically depends on the machine
Okay. So thank you very much for everyone. So thanks, Oscar and Veronica. And thank you all for your trust and for being with us today. So we invite you to contact MESPAC for any questions. You can do so by sending an email to marketing@mespac.com. So if you have more questions or you have anything that you want to ask us, please send us the email. And looking forward to seeing you soon at next Smart Talks by MESPAC. And have a great afternoon or morning, and best regards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.